Divine greetings and gratitude, everyone. Welcome back to the Saiyonan Archives YouTube channel. And if you are listening to the Saiyonan Archives podcast, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Nuna. I am the seer, the poet, the witch, the wise woman, the sage of the Saiyonan Archives, and I'm excited to have you here. And if you're returning, welcome back, tribe. I'm super honored, excited, and elated to be in your presence. Today, we are going to be doing a reading, of course. And we're going to be doing it obviously behind the scenes, but I wanted to try something different with you all today because I'm being called truly to focus on poetry, to focus on writing, and truly weaving and merging the arts of poetry and magic, and really start to extend my offerings in written form, spoken word, and things of that nature. So in this reading, of course, we're going to be opening ourselves up to receiving divine messages from spirit. Also, I'm going to be reading a poem out of The Magic of Healing, Merging Poetry and Witchcraft. And this is going to be so interesting because this book, when I wrote it, it was so amazing. The process was, it was very deeply healing, and it was also a kind of a challenge. And what made the book so special, or makes it so special to me, is the fact that I was able to really give you guys a taste of what it kind of feels like when I merge the arts of poetry and magic. In this book, I do have spells in it. I do have a couple of sigils here and there, but the focus of the book really was mainly poetry. So this was me getting my feet wet when it comes to sharing magic in this way. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in on the YouTube channel. Also, I am missing a nail here. I'm gonna get those fixed. Excuse the displeasing aesthetic that we've got going on here. Also, we're gonna be working with the Mermaid Tarot as well as this messages from the universe, I think, or notes from the universe. And then we also have this this spirit animal deck. Divine Animal Oracle cards is actually what they're called. I think they were made by Sean Gibson, I believe. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm going to make sure to link this down in the description box on YouTube. On the podcast, no. I'm not going to do it. At least I don't feel called to. But anyway, so as you guys can see, I already have a sticky note here where on the poem that I actually want to read. And in fact, it's not even a poem. It's just kind of like a couple of paragraphs or whatnot that I decided to write in the process. So this is in the book again, The Magic of Healing, and it's on page 258. I'm going to go ahead and get started with reading this because the messages that we're going to be receiving are going to stem from this. So I'm going to go ahead and read it and then just kind of allow whatever flows through to flow through. Sometimes our tragedies are the triggers that jumpstart our awakenings. They are the initiations that some of the strongest healers experience to step into their higher purpose. How can we truly know peace if we cannot attest to having experienced the currents and tsunamis of life? How can we truly know our power if we are not faced with moments where our power is needed? You have suffered because you are a healer. You are the medium between the physical and the ethereal. Since you have known pain, you must also know pleasure. You have experienced lack. Now you must experience prosperity. You are a magnificent guide here to help the world become balanced and restore peace on this planet. Your strife has not been in vain. I see you. Your tribe sees you. This world is brighter with you in it. This was taken from The Magic of Healing on page 258. And I feel like that is so fitting for this time. And I say that because when we think about what's going on astrologically, we have all of these planets that are retrograde. We have Saturn that's retrograde, I believe. We also have Neptune who's retrograde along with others. And during the time of the full moon or the blood moon that we're going to be having in the sign of Pisces, this is life changing for a lot of people, especially for those who have experienced pain, especially for those who have experienced suffering, especially for those whose lives have been dedicated to helping others heal through their pain, through their trauma, through their suffering and whatnot that they've experienced. And I feel that the best gift that we can sometimes give to the world is our own life experience, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's going on in corporate America. It doesn't matter what's going on out there in the news. What matters is the fact that we ourselves come together as a collective, we use our pain as not only stories, but also use our pain in a way that can help other people, meaning that we can transmute that into something favorable to help our soul tribe. The things that we experience in life are not there to just keep us dormant. They're not there to just simply torture us for no reason. If anything, we have the power to choose to see the lesson in it, and then we can extend that to someone else who can use it as a gift to help them in their own lives. And I do feel that, because I just heard the words purpose driven. It's purpose driven. It's a part of our purpose. It's here, or we experience it because we ourselves are meant to give gifts again to the collective to help harmonize and synchronize and to uplift the vibration on the planet, as you guys know. So I feel like what that poem does, or not poem, but I do feel that with those words that were expressed on page 258, it was about us just simply understanding that we don't have to allow ourselves to be victimized or to be inhibited or to be shackled or chained by pain and suffering. Instead, we can choose to use the lessons learned from that experience to help others, but also to receive prosperity, wealth, love, abundance of all things divine and all things high vibrational. And not only that, I do feel that for some people, they have a really hard time with coming out of pain because it's all that they know. It's all that they know to experience. And so to keep themselves living, to keep themselves in survival, they will look for pain. They will look for the suffering. They will look for it because not only is it familiar, but it's something that they can recognize and they can navigate through because they can calculate that. And some people kind of shut themselves off the things that feel good because they're not used to that territory. And I do feel that this is one of those things where Spirit is saying your life now is changing drastically. So get used to feeling those feel good feelings. Get used to thriving. Get used to feeling vibrant. Get used to feeling light. Get used to feeling airy. Get used to feeling this ethereal aspect of yourself. Get used to being the best version of yourself, because that's exactly what's going to be called out. And if you're not in that aspect, then what Spirit is saying is that you will continue to suffer, but it will be because you are choosing to. It's not one of those things where you were in, well, this may not be true for some people, but for a good amount of people, suffering is honestly really a choice. And it's so interesting that I'm saying this because some people may argue, well, suffering is always a choice. But I do feel that there are some instances where we have to recognize that how do we know what the lack of suffering is if we ourselves have not suffered, right? Like, it just simply does not work that way. And I do feel that Spirit's reminder to you today is that you don't have to allow yourself to suffer. You don't have to keep immersing yourself into this type of pain, into this type of trauma, or into that old story, or into that old paradigm. You are safe to let this go. You are safe to move forward. You are safe to experience the best of life, because I do feel that this universe is going to simply align to what you know to be true for yourself. This universe is programmable. What I'm hearing is that the universe is programmable. You program the universe by what you say, by what you feel. Truly, it's really about what you feel and also what you believe, because what you believe, you can feel what you believe. And when you feel this, you vibrate at that frequency, which means that things are going to come to you in that space. Then again, there are also situations where you yourself have been so healed, or you can be so healed, where you start to then attract people who are not at that vibration, but at that point, you become the teacher. You become the guru. You become the one that shows them out of their suffering, as long as you detach from the suffering itself. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm feeling right now. That's what's coming through. And now we are going to go ahead and get into pulling some cards. Wow, that was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. I really needed to hear that. What about you guys? Did you guys need to hear that? How do you feel about that? I know that there are some ways or some areas where people may disagree, but I'm just allowing Spirit to flow through. I'm allowing Spirit to just flow through me and express what she is going to express. I just heard the words lived wisdom. There's lived wisdom that the collective can benefit from directly from you, right? Like, it's lived wisdom is what I'm hearing. And this, of course, is connecting me to Jupiter, and it's connecting me to Saturn. I'm going to let you guys know that what I learned about the Great Malefic and the Great Benefactor is that when it comes to Saturn, right, people tend to be afraid of Saturn. People tend to be, they don't like dealing with that kind of energy. They don't like dealing with that level of rigor. They don't like dealing with that level of intensity. And the reason is because it's Saturn's energy can be very dense. And I know this because, for one, I was born on an 8th day, on January the 8th, 1994, and I was born on a Saturn day. And interesting, I was born on a Saturn day, and on an 8th day, like I said, during Capricorn season, right? I've got 6 planets in the 9th house of the sign of Capricorn, so I'm heavily dense with Saturn energy. So I can speak to it. My life itself has been, especially at the very early ages, have been very intense, very rigorous, and very emotionally taxing. I will say that at the least. But I also have a really strong connection to Jupiter. So one thing that I learned about Saturn is that it's not the fact that he restricts you because it doesn't care or because he just wants to torture you. Absolutely not. The energy of Saturn, and I'm speaking in terms of personification here, think of Saturn as the father figure that says, you need to do what you need to do. If you keep doing this, then you're going to experience that. I'm going to withhold this because you yourself have proven that you are irresponsible. So because you decide to be irresponsible with your power, because you decide to be irresponsible with what you were being given, I'm going to confiscate that. And every time you resist, there will be more pressure added. So people don't like that type of heat and intensity because they're not used to being in this level of maturity, because Saturn says, I'm going to mature you. Yes, you're going to get to this enlightenment aspect of your life, but not without rigor. It will be rigorous. It will be, what's another word that I can use? It will be rigorous. It may feel torturous, right? It may feel traumatic. It may feel all of these things, but all of these have to do with your perception. And it also has to do with how you are choosing to respond to these things. Right? So Saturn says, I'm going to help you reach enlightenment, but not everything is going to be favorable. Not everything is going to be pleasant, and you have to understand that. Jupiter, on the other hand, I feel like he teaches us through detachment, compassion, jovialness, buoyancy. He teaches us to reach enlightenment through enjoyment, right? Through expansion of the heart, through expressing the heart space, through connecting with the higher realms of the universe, through connecting with the higher mind, and understanding things from a higher perspective, and understanding that you yourself don't have to be attached to the situation, because with attachment comes some form of suffering. So you want to detach enough to see the bigger picture. You want to detach enough to see what is the true meaning. Why am I experiencing this? What is going on? Right? Why am I suffering? And then we detach from that and we look at it from a higher perspective and see that these are all different expressions of this ever expanded universe. Right? So there's a complete contrast between Jupiter and between Saturn, but what they both have in common is the fact that they will help you reach some form of enlightenment. They will help you to illuminate yourself. They will help you to mature. They will help you to see the best version of you if you stick with it, especially with Saturn. I don't know who needs to hear that, but I do feel like there's a message in that about you allowing yourself to get through life, you understanding that not everything is going to be pleasant, you understanding that not everything is going to be unpleasant, right? But there has to be a balance between the two. It's so interesting because the first card to come out was a 10 of Pentacles. It's something that is meant to be long lasting. Whatever it is that you are doing, right? This suffering that you've experienced, this pain that you've experienced, right? You, as someone who is here to help this world, what I'm hearing is that you will not only be given the resources, but it's something that you're doing that's going to be long lasting, and it's going to outlive you. Some of you guys are artists, you are poets, you are painters, you are sculptors, you are architects, you are mathematicians, you are so many things, and whatever it is that you have to give to this world, it's going to outlive you. 100%. It's going to outlive your physical body. Wow. Okay. We have the Knight of Wands here, as well as the Three of Swords in reverse. You see, look at you guys on YouTube. You see this? The Three of Swords in reverse. You don't have to suffer. Exactly. Everything is so in alignment. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I seen that card came out, because that is exactly what we're talking about. You don't have to suffer. If anything, your days of suffering to that degree are over. This is not a space in your life where you have to keep worrying about, where am I going to get the money from? Where am I going to get this from? As I say that, you have the World card that's coming out. Amazing. I love that. Thank you, Spirit. Oh my goodness. You have the Magician. You have the Empress. You have the Hierophants. Like, You have the Six of Wands. Like, y'all, you cannot make this up. And stop playing around. We have the Temperance card. This is just so wild. I love it. I love it. You have the Magician. Wow. This was right on time. And speaking of Capricorn, we have the Devil here. I'm not seeing the Devil as anything negative. I'm not at all. Let me flip these cards over so we can get a good reading. Let's see. Let's put the Empress here. Let's put the Devil card here. Let's put the Magician. Okay, Eight of Wands. Let's put the Eight of Wands underneath there. Let's put this Magician card here. Let's put the Hierophant there. Let's put the Temperance card here. Okay, you guys, I had to make sure that I left the cards out, that I laid them out in their spaces. It's so beautiful and interesting because looking into the cards, I'm definitely seeing that there's a point in time where you're really wanting to be very structured with what you're doing and you want to make this a part of your devotion. Ask yourself, what are you devoted to? What are you choosing to align with? And what are you choosing to establish? And I feel like Saturn is kind of loosening his grip on some of you because you've learned a very hard lesson in your life. You've experienced so many different types of experiences. And I do feel that he himself is, again, loosening up, and the sensor is now starting to loosen itself up. The way that I like to think about Saturn is, and I've always said this, I feel like Saturn has like this invisible sensor, right? Where when you're, think of it as like you're in this like space, right? And there's like this sensor, and every time you like bang against the wall, the sensor goes off, or every time you resist, the sensor goes off and it starts to get more restrictive. But then what happens is that when you keep trying to resist and fight, it just keeps constricting you and constricting you. And it's not until you stop and you're like, okay, let me just stop, let me just breathe. And then the sensor starts to kind of loosen up. It's like, okay, all right, let me loosen up a little bit. And then you say, okay, I can breathe now. I can breathe now. Okay. And then it loosens up a little bit more. And then eventually you become so calm in the situation. And so you look and you're like, okay, why was that so intense? And it was because of like how you were choosing to react. You react out of being panicking. You react out of stress. You react out of a need to survive. And you know, it's like this constant fight or flight that keeps impeding on your ability to expand and grow. And I feel like that's exactly what we're getting out of. We're getting out of this fight or flight that's making the sensor go off. And so Saturn says, I want you to take a look at your behavior. What have you been doing to restrict yourself? Because at the end of the day, it's not about anyone else having power and dominion over you. It's about you knowing what you have the power to do. And so Spirit, again, is asking you, Saturn is asking you, because Saturn is an extension of the Great Source Mother, right? We are all her babies. We are all this universe. She birthed this universe, right? Speaking metaphorically speaking, if you believe in an actual being that birthed the universe, okay, that's fine. I'm speaking more in personification and more in symbolic and metaphorical terms here, okay? So I feel like Saturn is like, yes, I'm going to restrict. It's interesting because, of course, you have the World card here. You have the Devil here. So Capricorn and Saturn energy is definitely here. Venusian energy is here, right? You have Jupiter and Sagittarian energy that is here. You have Earth energy that's here, right? You have, to be quite honest with you, I'm seeing all of it. It's this healthy balance of all of everything, earth, air, fire, and water. It's interesting. I do feel that with the Magician card showing up as well, is that this is your green light. This is your go. This is your time to understand that it's now time for you to start using everything you have, because I feel that there's something that you have within you, your voice, your movement, right? Your fire, your water. You have all the elements here that you have access to, that you can use in your own workings, that you can use in your own magic, that you can use in your own gifts, and you extend those out into the universe. This is a book being written, a new book being written. I feel like this could be a new project that someone is working on, but this time you're doing it your way without the need to do it systematically. It's interesting that I say that because the Hierophant is here, which does point to rules. It does point to regulation, spiritual regulation, right? It's the active aspect of the High Priestess. So when you're thinking about the Hierophant being here, I just heard like a new world order, actually. I just heard new world order. I'm not sure why I'm hearing new world order. But in this new world order, right, in this new world, I feel like you yourself are meant to show up as some type of force that people come to to receive some kind of guidance. It's something that you've done, that you've went through, that you've experienced, where now you are entering into a space in your life where you will be seen as a healer. You will be seen as someone who provides a sanctuary. You will see that you are someone now who was there to be a part of a community that you can help to grow, expand, and evolve. I feel that with the Knight of Wands here and with the Eight of Wands here, this is movement. This is fast-paced energy. This is energy that says, I want to do this and I'm going to do it now. I am empowered. This feels like empowerment. It feels like you have learned. You've learned the ropes. You've learned. The Hierophant here is also bringing me to someone that studies. You have studied. You have put yourself in these situations, or some situations you didn't put yourself in, but either way, you learned from them. You jotted them down. You journaled about them, right? You put them in your writings, right? You put them in somewhere in safekeeping, where when you go back to, you read them or you view them or whatever it is. It's these archives that I'm seeing someone has. It's like they have these archives, like a secret library is what this gives me. The Hierophant is giving me like a secret library that someone goes to when they need some type of knowledge that they can't give to the world. I will say that aspect right there is what I kind of resonate with as well. You yourself may have an archive. It could be the archives of your mind. It could be an actual hidden compartment in your home, right? Whatever it may be. I do feel that I just heard like the word retreat. It's where you go to obtain some type of knowledge, to hear the voice of God or something like that. And then you yourself go out into the world and then deliver the messages, because that's what makes you a prophet. That's what makes you a prophetess. That's what makes you a priestess, a seer, or whatever you may be. And if you are here, chances are that you are someone who has a very strong, rigorous past, or you have seen and experienced suffering to, I want to say, to the highest degree that you could experience in your life, and no one can compare their pain to yours, right? Yes, there is a matter of being grateful. Yes, there is a matter of us understanding that some people may have it worse than we do. You know, some people may have it, you know, quote unquote, better than we do. But at the end of the day, we are all here to experience something. And I do feel that you're entering into a space of your life where you are meant to be given. You are going to be given things. And it's because you know and you understand the power of gratitude. It's because you understand what it means to not have. And so now in this new world order, you will have abundantly. You will never have to go without anything, because you are in a space where you trust yourself. Spirit is saying, I want you to trust yourself. Trust this process. Trust in the journey, but trust in your ability to do it and to get it done. Trust in your ability to deliver. Trust in your ability to show up. The Six of Wands is this card, or it's bringing me, oh my goodness, and then you have Strength here. The Strength card is here. I love that. The reason why I feel that, oh wow, and then you also have the High Priestess. We were just, wow, I just mentioned the High Priestess not long ago. And you have the Ace of Cups and the Fool card. You guys, y'all, there's no more cards that I need to pull from this deck at all. Actually, yes it is. I just saw the Emperor. So yes, with all of these cards that are coming out here, it's one of those things where you're no longer in training. It's time for you to start really taking yourself seriously and start pouring in all the love that you have. I do feel that this is actually going to take off a lot sooner than what some of you guys think. And in fact, I do feel like I just heard the word June. Like the word is June. I don't know why I'm hearing like the word June. Like mid-June, April energy is what this is giving me for some of y'all. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and see what else we have here. This is a pretty thick deck of cards. Okay, here we go. No two flowers are the same, yet all are beautiful in their own way. Love that for y'all. And then you also have dwell on what you love. Exactly, dwell on what you love. That's that Ace of Cups energy that we have sitting here. Change is always good. This is one of those things where Spirit is reminding you, you don't have to hold on to that. If you decided to let go of whatever it is that you keep yourself fixated on, right? The hurt, the pain, the suffering, Three of Swords in reverse. If you keep yourself fixated on that, then you're going to be experiencing that. Now you're in a space in your life where you are empowered to stand strong and firm in your elevation. This is where you can allow yourself to exude this more mature, this more ethereal, this more mastered, this more graceful, this more seeing aspect of yourself, because that is what the world needs, right? The world needs that, but it's not even just about the world, right? Because you don't want to waste the world by constantly giving it pain and suffering, by reaffirming that. Right? It's one of those things where you have to understand that you yourself have the world in your hands, and you are not meant to waste it, or to defy the world, or to taint the world with more suffering. Instead, what we could do, right? And this may be me being aspirational, and I don't mean to be, but I truly do believe that if we all, which is, impossible for this world, I'm sure, but if we all just tapped into our intuition and we all really embodied compassion, we would not have any suffering at all on the planet. There may be some things that we may suffer from, maybe from a past life, possibly, right? But this is me unrealistically speaking, saying that we all have the capacity to eliminate suffering on the planet, right? But that's just not the way the world works. Realism, maybe in my own personal utopia, right? In my own dream world, is that possible? Anyway. The fact that you have the Emperor card here and the Empress, this is both I just heard like the divine matriarch is what I'm hearing. I do feel like these are your divine masculine forces and your divine feminine forces coming through. But also I do feel that divine feminine is taking the leadership here. I do see the divine masculine is starting to understand that leading based upon what the intuition, what the divine feminine says, is actually what brings results. Like we mentioned, this has everything to do with mastery. You are entering a season of mastery where you have learned from your pain and your suffering, and I don't even want to claim those as yours. You have learned from previous pain and previous suffering, and the lessons that you picked up along the way, the wisdom that you found, the wisdom that was within you is now starting to show itself, and it will in this new world. No two flowers are the same, yet all are beautiful in their own way. That is your uniqueness. Everyone's beautiful, right, in their own way. If you look on my altar, I have, for those of you guys that are on YouTube, I have here these roses. I can't remember what kind of plant this is, right? And even though they're both not flowers, that's fine. They're plants, but they all shine in their beautiful in their own ways. And so you yourself don't have to compare yourself to anyone if you fall into comparison, because this world needs you to compare yourself to it so that it can be relevant. It's a power play, and you don't want anyone power playing on you, right? It's so interesting because I'm hearing like the word dominance. Some of you are definitely called to work some type of like dominance working. I'm gonna shamelessly say this. I do have a dominance oil that you can work with. I actually have people who have worked with this oil who have actually really gotten amazing results with that. And it's not even really just about the oil, it's about the fact that the oil complements you where you are along your journey. And I use a very specific type of ingredients and a very specific type of base oil to help you. Sorry about that, you guys. The plane is going overhead, and I don't know if you guys can hear that on the podcast or not. I hope not. But anyway, moving forward, so absolutely, I do feel like this is one of those moments in your life where you really, again, want to dwell on what you love. That's exactly what we were talking about when we are allowing ourselves to dwell on the things that we really do love to do. Dwell on what brings you joy. Dwell on what brings you happiness. Dwell on the highest timeline. Because if you can overthink the worst and the negative experiences, then you can overthink the best possible outcomes. It's so interesting that I'm feeling this hard contrast between energies. It's the lowest energy and then it's like the highest energy is what I'm feeling. But then what about the in-between? You are in the in-between of both, where you experienced the lower aspect and now you're rising and ascending and transcending to the highest. And why? Because you are on a path of remembrance. This is the path of remembrance for you. It's the reason why I created the Saiyonan path to begin with, which I'm still developing, of course, but the Saiyonan path is a path that is rooted in divine feminine intelligence and intuition to help you on the path of remembrance. That's exactly what it is. Because the suffering that you experienced, the things that you went through in your past, that was the fracturing. That was the fracturing. The same way that this universe fractured, to experience itself. You yourself have been fractured through these experiences, and now you are along your journey of life putting these pieces back together as you journey back to wholeness. That's what this is all about. And how do you do that? Change is always good. Do something different. Do something that you know is going to help you elevate, help the planet to elevate. Whoa, okay. Love in spite of it all. And I love this because this reminds me of someone that chooses to love despite what they've been through. That there in itself is it's a mood, and it's not even a mood, it's a lifestyle. It is a state of being. I love that because I feel like you are starting to become the embodiment of peace, right? You're being watched by loving eyes, and it says all there is to love has been there all along. And then it says love in spite of it all, and then hubba bubba. So basically with these coming out here, I'm going to read these off to you in a moment. But with these all coming out, it's like, listen, I know that I've gone through this, but you know what? I'm choosing to love anyway. I'm choosing to uplift anyway. I'm choosing to share my voice anyway. I'm choosing to share my art anyway. I'm choosing to share the love that I have in the form of art, in the form of words, in the form of poetry, in the form of hugs, in the form of food, in the form of crayons, in the form of painting, and just this overall joyful experience. We have been through so much. The old world is over. We are no longer in that world. The old world had us believe that we needed to be restricted, restrained, confined in these spaces, because they needed to dominate the collective. They needed that because they needed to survive. But now we're in a space where we're saying, fuck that. We are going to be in spaces where we are empowered, and we will share that power with the collective because we know that it is the only way. It is the only way that we can all experience harmony, love, joy on this planet. The only way out. The only way through is together. And that is exactly what Spirit is wanting us to know now. It is together. Man, that was so beautiful. And it's so interesting because the last card that we have here from this deck is there's a deeper reason for each of your questions. Seek it. I do feel like this is Spirit's reminder that seeking comes when you allow yourself to journey throughout life, and you have to detach enough to receive those answers. We're going to go ahead and pull from this pot, from this deck here. We have the Blue Jay. I love that. I had a dream about a Blue Jay not long ago. Blue Jay, assertive, daring, universal wisdom. You are being guided to be aware of synchronicities in your life. You are entering a time of intellectual and spiritual growth. New truths are forming each day. Be fearless. Trust your gut. Be your authentic self. Take inspired action, and what you desire will come to fruition. This has everything to do with you showing up and you spreading your messages and you showing up anyway. That's everything that has to do with. Oh, look at, we have the panda here. And we also have the deer and one more card. Let's see. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me during this reading. And thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel if you're listening to this far, or if you're listening this far. And thank you so much for joining the show if you are still here. Thank you for listening this far if you're on the podcast. There we go. The last card. So we have the deer spirit. We have cougar. Ooh, okay. All right, deer. Speed, accuracy, endurance. You are being guided to no longer stand in the shadows of fear. Begin today to allow yourself to be seen. I love that because this is actually pointing me to the Six of Wands that we have here on the table, on the altar. What you seek is there to be found. Take inspired action and a leap of faith towards your heart's desires. Okay, I feel like this deck, the only thing that I kind of don't like about this deck is that everything is about leap forward, and it's, either way, the message is still the message. So yes, you may have seen a lot of Blue Jays recently. They may be coming to you. You may have been approaching, or not even just approaching, but there may be something very special about the deer that you may. I'm seeing a deer, and I'm seeing like a butterfly land on a deer's nose. It's so cute. That's so sweet. It's like a small blue butterfly. I don't think it's a morpho, but I think it's a different one. And as I say that, there's actually a bug on my window, which is so interesting. And there was a bee flying over here earlier, you guys. Or was it a beetle? I can't remember. Anyway, I find it interesting that they're now starting to come over by the window. All right, Panda, balance, harmony, detachment. Oh my goodness. We were talking about that. Interesting. Okay. You are being guided to remove self-sabotaging thoughts and feelings and no longer label yourself or others. Take a step back and find the harmonic balance within your life and its relationships. Align with your core values and embrace the magic of today. I love that. That's bringing me to temperance. Pandas are also hilarious. Like, they are hilarious. No, I do not know how they survive in the wild. Maybe it's because they look a lot scared than they actually are. Maybe, I don't know. They look a lot scarier than they actually are. Possibly, I don't know. I've never been up close to a panda. You know, they may they may have their own ways of keeping themselves, you know, surviving and things like that. But yes, I definitely do feel like it's just being buoyant and loving and laughing and just, well, and experiencing laughter and things like that in the middle of these extremes. And I do feel that this is definitely a moment of extremes that someone may be between right now. And I do feel that finding the middle way and embracing the middle way is what's going to help you in this next stage of your life. And the last card that we have here is Cougar. Assertive, wise, decisive. This is the mastery. This is where you have the, who is that? The Emperor card here. The Hierophant here. Okay, you are being guided to be attentive towards the universal nudges in your life. Make your decision, take a risk, and step outside your comfort zone. If you change your approach, you change your direction. Each inspired action taken will deliver you to your heart's desires. It's always been about that. It's so interesting that we're talking about the heart here, and that we're talking about change, and we're talking about the redirection of your thoughts, the redirection of your energy, the redirection of your path, right? So I do feel also for some of you, it doesn't matter what you did, or it doesn't matter what would have happened in your life, you would have always ended up here somehow. Okay, anyway, yes, that's all that we have. That is all that we have. Thank you so much for tuning into this. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for listening here on YouTube. All of these messages have been coming out before the Pisces blood moon, which I feel like I'm going to be giving some final messages about that. We've been on that for a minute, you guys. I know. We have been on that for a while. Anyways, so yes, if you all need anything from me, please be sure to visit me online over at thesayonanpath.org. For those of you that are here on YouTube, this is the book that I read from. That those paragraphs were on page 258. This book is called The Magic of Healing, Merging Poetry and Witchcraft, by Cassandra Turner. Of course, me. However, I do not go by Cassandra Turner anymore. I am to be approached and addressed as Nuna. That is my name. I will not answer to Cassandra. That is not my name to the world. My name to the world is Nuna. My spiritual name is my name. Anyway, so basically, I also do have here the Full Moon Magic Intention Oil. This one is for Pisces. As you can see, I'm going to be working with this oil on the day of the blood moon, of course, on the night of. And this can also be found on the Saiyonan and the Saiyonan Ethereum. And I also have other things that you guys can look and pick up along the way. I have several offerings that you can choose from that you can use in your magical workings. All of this tarot, astrology, spiritual essentials, poetry, writing, all of that. All of those are a value part of our experience here. And these are all different things that I do offer. If you've never used any of my oils, I would highly suggest that you give it a try. Even though this YouTube channel is new, right, it does not mean that I'm new to the craft. If anything, I'm only new to this space. You guys can go over to Magic of Eden on YouTube and see that I've actually been on YouTube since about 2020, I believe. But the journey started way before then. The journey started at least like years before that. I want to say around 2013-ish or something like that. But anyway, yes, if there's nothing else that I can help you with, I'll make sure to leave all links down in the description box. And yes, make sure that you subscribe, follow the show. I love you, and I will catch you in my next video.